Welcome back, everybody. We are having tea with Tamra, and yes, I did steal that right off of
That's
Jim
right.
and Tamra's YouTube channel, where they hold very lovely and interesting conversations about life and acting. And I need to start doing that with my wife. So please welcome to the program, Tamra Meskimen.
Hi, Alan. So nice to be here. It's good to see you.
Likewise. I really enjoyed kind of watching the videos and as I was doing my background on you, I came across it and I learned about your acting center, which I have many questions about. And then I just saw the Tea with Tamra, and I thought, what a great idea. My wife and I really need to start doing this, whether we record it or not is a separate question. But just to kind of have a way to connect on a regular basis, because she's really busy with her work. I'm busy with mine, and our connections really come in when both of us basically about to go to sleep at 11:30 at night, and it's kind of that catching up, which usually means we go to sleep really late. And neither gets enough rest. So we should try to figure something else out, and having tea would be a lovely thing to do.
That's a great idea. I'm glad we've inspired you.
Certainly have, yeah. And you've been married to Jim, and Jim Meskimen is the one who we're talking about, by the way. And his interview with our program is going to be right below this video, so please click and check it out. You and Jim have been married for 32 years. That's amazing. We are 11 years behind you, and if my wife doesn't throw me out before that, we'll try to make it as well.
Well, he's probably so far so good, right?
Yeah, there have been times when she's certainly had enough of me, but God bless her, she's still with me, and I'll keep my fingers crossed.
I think that's part of every relationship. You go through stuff, and that's part of it. It's how you get through it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And with you and Jim, and I don't know about your relationship other than what I've seen on those tea talks. Tea talk, interesting. Okay. These you at least kind of are coming from a similar background, and both of you are in the industry, and both of you understand the nonlinear aspects of it. My wife, finished her schooling, got a job, worked really hard, continued progressing, got her master's, and she had the trajectory. So she's really successful. She's a CFO of a company, and she's worked extremely hard to get there. So for her, it's decide what you want to do, get the education, get the experience, and continue growing. In our
Yeah.
industry, sorry, that's just not it. And whether we end up making a living at this or not is just entirely up to so many different variables that there's not much you can really pinpoint. So there's a long-winded story is that in your relationship, hopefully there is much more understanding of that nonlinear nature, whereas in my relationship it becomes more of a point of contention and frustration on my wife's part, because it's hard for her to live in this uncertainty. That's
I
where it
can
is.
totally understand that. Absolutely. There's two different worlds. And Jim and I also are both improv trained. So that's really like the underpinning of
Mm.
our acting techniques is it has to do with a lot of improv. So we're used to being able to just kind of go with the flow and take what comes and make something of it, create it into something and keep going. It's kind of how
Mhm.
we live our life.
Yeah, I heard that in one of your conversations as well, and I have a T-shirt. I'm going to I'll actually in my editing, because I'm doing more and more editing of these videos. So in the editing, I'm gonna put a T-shirt in there. But I have a inspirational apparel business as well,
Oh,
and one
wow.
of the T-shirts basically is a design that says "Every day is improv."
Great. It's true.
So
And yes,
uh,
and.
that's that's kind of how it is. I was telling you in our pre-chat that actually in when we're going to have a discussion about the acting approaches, I want to tell the story so the audience knows. But I was telling you about the last minute huge audition that I had to do last night,
Yeah.
and it's really all about yes and. You get it, you say thank you, and you move from there. There's no, oh my God, I don't have enough time, or oh, this is way too many characters, and I have to learn so many lines, and I have my work, and I have my family, and I have to do that. Okay, put that out, yes,
Mhm.
and go. And that's the way it is. Otherwise, what's the point, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I want to talk to you about a school that you're a co-founder of in LA. Jim was raving about it, and I've done a little bit of research on it, and I want to ask you more questions because
Absolutely.
as somebody who loves the kind of the guts of it, if you will, of trying to figure out what is it that makes some actors great and what is it that makes others good,
Mm.
and trying to figure out the approach that works consistently. And I've developed my own approach, which I think I shared with Jim, maybe, I don't remember. So I'll tell you what that is, and I want to know of what your school is teaching.
Sure.
So the Acting Center is the name of the school. Am I correct?
Yes.
Perfect. And it's in LA, and it's been around for a little while. How many years now?
I think we're going on about 15.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Congratulations. Going
Thank you.
strong. Tell me more about the approach, because from everything that I kind of heard of why the school was started, it is to try to teach the new way and try to teach a better way. So what is that new and better way that now works for people?
Well, that's interesting. I mean, we're saying that we're new because it's new in that it's a lot of different acting exercises that you actually do in class, right? I mean, we've come from a tradition of you go into an acting class, you're kind of expected to know how to act. It's like put up a scene, put up a scene, and we will critique it and tell you what worked about it and tell you what didn't work about it. And that way, that's how you will grow. You know, from my viewpoint and the viewpoint of the Acting Center, art is very objective. There is no right or wrong in art. And so to be able to teach that way, I think is very difficult because all you're getting is one person's opinion
Mhm.
about what you've created. And that's their opinion, and that's totally fine. And when you're working with a director, that's absolutely true because whenever you're working with the director is that senior
Mhm.
person on the set that everybody's we're all collaborating with this person to create the idea that he has, right? So on set, that's absolutely true. But in training, it's it takes away it takes away your actual own innate sense of what you want to create as an artist. And to me, that's the best gift that you have. And that's what makes you stand out from the rest is that you bring your own creativity and your own viewpoint about the character that you want to present that somebody will buy.
Mhm.
Basically, right? That's what we're doing. So it's a long tradition of how acting classes have been taught. And, it's kind of like, all right, maybe people can get better. Also, there's that tear you down to build you up aspect of it sometimes with some teachers that a lot of people have come to us and said, I gave up. I couldn't do it. I couldn't take it. It's not for everybody. Some people can handle it and some people just can't. And
Well,
yeah.
I'll interject for just a moment because in that tradition, and again, I come from the former Soviet Union, so the tear you down to build you up is kind of ingrained in a lot of the processes there.
Yes.
But if that is done in a loving way, there is one aspect to it. But a lot of the acting teachers that I've seen do this, they're doing that because they have a huge ego. And when we, as students, feel that because we feel things, whether we can understand them fully or elaborate on them in a way that makes sense to everybody is a different question. But we feel whether the person is really invested in us or they're having an ego trip. And once we feel that ego, then the sincerity is gone, and then it doesn't matter what they do, because we're just going to lock down and become defensive, which is, completely counter to what you're trying to do in acting class. So please continue, but I've been.
Exactly. Yeah, because you're trying to, I mean, what our goal is to bring out that in a person, like give them their own self-confidence back so that they feel they can create something, present it. If it's not what that's wanted, great, we'll change it. And not feel like, oh, this is terrible. I didn't do it right and I'm a failure, and then everything kind of implodes. So the idea is to be so self-confident in your abilities that you can get on set, make changes, because that happens on set. You go on set, sometimes your whole character has changed. Sometimes they change all the dialogue. They change, I mean, the business is so, elastic in that way. And that the technique of working on a scene for a month and then putting it up doesn't really work in the workaday world. It just doesn't. As you know from telling me about your audition, you have this amount of time to do 11 pages, and it's a lot of this, and it's fight scenes and this and that, and you got to do it, right? So that's the way it is in the industry. So we basically developed, we have many exercises that actually we've pulled apart, like the main, I guess, skills that you need as an actor, and you just keep drilling those things and drilling them and drilling them and drilling them until you're just so facile at them that they're second nature to you. The basis of our technique is being another person. It's like, that's what you change your identity. That's what acting is. And so the exercises are all about that, whether it's emotions, whether it's making the dialogue real, whether it's, the intentions for the scene, whether it's whatever it is, it's all coming from being that person fully, So that's kind of the basis of where we're going with our technique.
Let's dig in. So again, the approaches that our viewers are likely familiar with, and if they're not, please look them up, are the approaches of Stanislavski and the approaches of other acting teachers and other techniques, Stella Adler, and we can go whether in order to become a different person or a different character, you have to go full method and kind of really just disassociate in a way. Or are you using imagination, or are you using your own drama in order to help you with what's happening to the other character? Are you using substitution techniques, right? So there are all sorts of things, and most of the stuff that I have named, I don't use. So the question is, how do you get your students to be someone else or to embody somebody else? What is the approach? If you're okay sharing it, that's another kind of a caveat.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm not going to say too much. All I'm going to say is, because basically, also, just to point out, Konstantin Stanislavski, I have a quote from Konstantin Stanislavski saying that, I forget who he told this to. I think he did tell it to Stella Adler too. The Americans don't need this technique. Americans do not need this technique. American actors are free. By using this technique, they will invariably spy on themselves.
Yeah.
And that's what happens, right?
Yeah.
So, if the history of this is, the group theater and then everybody splintered off and developed their own techniques around Stanislavski's. But also Stella Adler came back and she had talked to Stanislavski and he told her the same thing. So it's one of these things that's that was for a time, and from coming where you come from, and what was needed, what the world was like there in Russia. It was a different scene, you know.
Yeah,
So yeah,
we're
it's an interesting quote.
yeah, I did not know that quote, and it certainly resonates
Yeah.
because people are different. I remember, coming over, and the people in Russia were always um, were trying to figure out, why does everybody smile in the United States? Why? Because in Russia, if you're smiling, then there's a reason for you to smile, as opposed to just be smiling. So it deals with the all of the photographs, the older photographs. There's nobody smiling in them because
Yeah.
that was norm. And I find it really interesting because other parts of the society there is, it's hugging and kissing 3 times on the cheek. That's normal, so that's opening, and yet you don't smile and you don't welcome the other person. And when somebody is asking you, how are you, nobody really does that there. Here
Mm.
it's norm, there it's not. Here we don't hug and kiss on a cheek 3 times because that's not okay. So like all of these different kind of
Yeah.
things have been fascinating to me, but it makes sense that more often than not, the American people in general, not just actors, they are more open, and they're not kind of in that state where they can't allow themselves to be exposed for fear of persecution
Hmm.
in the former, Soviet Union and the society that they grew up in.
My
So
apologies. I couldn't hear what you said.
Siri could not hear what I said, so she apologized. Very nice of you, Siri. Thank you. So that's a really interesting quote. So what I have discovered, and I fully respect that, your method is your method. So then I'll share how I get there, and I would love to hear what your thoughts are on that. Because I started using substitution, right? So this is where I kind of went up. Substitution made sense, right? So you're you and somebody else. How do you feel about somebody else? Well, I don't know them, but I know somebody who reminds me of them, so I'm going to use substitution. It made sense, but it doesn't really click and it doesn't embody because you're creating kind of a prism of what that person is like instead of what that person is really like. Then I said, okay, that doesn't work. I really need to kind of embody the other character. How do I do that? I'm going to start writing all sorts of background, do huge backstory on this person, really try to figure out what they're about, and go really deep into that. And then I didn't feel grounded in it because there was something missing. There was that root that was missing. And then one of my friends, who's not an actress, but watching some of my auditions, she said, "Look, you're a really interesting person. I would just love to watch you." And I thought, what an interesting way of looking at it. So, and as I started kind of looking at actors from that perspective, it's either does the person seem real or do they not seem real? And it's not about how you got there or your acting choices, but what is it about? And when we're watching Tom Hanks on screen, is it Tom Hanks, or do we see all of these diverse characters in Tom Hanks? And then Billy Bob Thornton said something that again kind of made me go back to that statement from my friend, which is he said, "Look, I'm grateful that I've gotten all these compliments and Oscars and nominations for playing these incredibly diverse characters, but I'm telling you the truth that all of these are just me. They're different aspects of me. We all have these aspects, and there's just, which one do you bring out?" So eventually, I basically got to a point where I wanted to be somebody else, but I wanted to be grounded in me. And how I went about that is using what I call the butterfly effect method of acting, which I am not selling to anybody. There's no books, there's no schools. It's just my approach. So please use it as you see fit. But what I've discovered is in order, and like, let's go back to the audition that I had yesterday. So the audition I had yesterday was 3 distinct characters that I had to play. They all had, 2 of them had 2 scenes. One of them had 1 scene. They had to be done in 2 languages. So each scene had to be done in 2 languages. So forget the just memorizing lines part, which is a whole separate discussion of how do you do that without going crazy. And you have a short period of time to do it.
We have
So,
exercise for that too.
Good. The way that I kind of did it is I started saying, okay, well, I keep talking about this butterfly, effect method of acting. Does it really work? Does it really work for me? Can I find all of these characters? So what I did is one of the characters is a military man and somebody who is, low level rank military, somebody who really does not like people. He is kind of this brooding, distraught, not a happy personality that, anybody beneath him, I really kind of this, I don't care about you, I'm happy to shoot you if that opportunity presents itself. So one of the characters, that's not me, right? I'm the happy, lucky, goofy dude. So how do I embody a character that's different from me? And the way that I did it is I went back into my own life. And then I tried to find a point after analyzing the script and kind of writing down characteristics of that person. I went back into my life and said, okay, so here's the root of my tree. This is Alan, and I'm going to find a piece that I can start. You can see it. I'm going to find a piece where I'm going to start drawing another branch in an alternate reality kind of version of me. Now, the Earth 23, in Flash, right? Version of Barry or whomever. And that particular version of me, instead of having my life, because I was dating a girl when I was younger, and her father was a general. So that relationship ended. In this particular case, I continued dating that girl. Because of that relationship, my parents went to the United States. I continued being back in Ukraine because I was in love with a girl. We ended up getting married. I didn't have a father figure. My father figure became the general. I went into the military. The relationship did not work out. The father basically got me a job, so I'm a surgeon in the army, and I am unhappy. And the imagination flows. The person becomes. I am still rooted in my tree and my own experience, but that's a very different branch leading to a completely different me. And the most important part that I was looking for is that safety net of knowing that I can find my way back into being me. Because when I get into those emotions of a person who is not a good guy in terms of, again, not two-dimensionally speaking, but it's just not a happy person. How do you extract yourself from there? How do you get back to you? And by me knowing that here's my root, this is just another branch, it's easy to find my way back. It takes a second, but you get back to you. So I can snap in and out, which is what I have to do during the audition. You snap in, you do that, you do it in a different language, you do 2 more scenes, then you go to another branch of somebody who is a completely different energy, high energy scientist, a recluse, so just a completely different person. Again, find a point. For me, that point was, I was fascinated with finding the patterns in pi. And I believe that I found some patterns, but I never kind of set with it. Well, in that alternate reality, I did. Then the government immediately took me, put me in a bunker, and I spent my life kind of in a scientific way. That's a very different version of me. So this butterfly effect is you change one thing, everything changes, but it's still the root of the same tree, just a completely different branch. So that is what I do in order to embody a different character and allowing my imagination to work, and then I don't have to have um, anything that's kind of put on. It's all organic. So
Right. That's, I mean, that imagination is a very powerful tool. It
yeah.
really is. It's a big part of our job, actually. Because it's true, I think it's like we do research, for characters, right? Which I think a lot of people do. If you're having to play a certain kind of character, then you research those kind of characters, and then adding observation of what you've seen that are people like that, and also but the biggest part is your imagination. How do you see it, and how do you create it? So great, if that works for you, that's awesome, amazing.
Right. And as you said, again, everybody has their own approaches, and whatever
Yeah,
works for you. And there's no one way of doing it. It's
yeah,
whatever works for you, and are you believable as that character? And if you are, God bless you, continue using it. So
exactly.
that's the point.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the point. The point is, yeah, really, like, let's embody this person, and bring that character to life in that script, and
Mhm.
tell the story. That's our job.
So tell me about some of the success stories of your school, because I see that there are students who are award-winning actors and actresses. Um, if you can share names, do. If not, it doesn't matter. But what I want to hear is somebody who is a successful actor right now came to your school and you allowed them to flourish.
Well, actually, probably, I mean, we have a lot of name people that I'm not going to mention. I can't mention,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
we've had some people that have been names and were award-winning actors that had kind of, decided, I'm not feeling it anymore. And
Mhm.
we've helped revitalize them back into getting back in the game and doing great work. We've had people come to us that have been working actors, and they've taken their career to another level, and are really, using us as a resource to keep that game going.
Mhm.
um, but probably one of the ones that I would say that we've taken from like zero,
Mhm.
would be one of my teachers, actually,
Mhm.
and Amanda. And she was, an actress, working actress, but maybe something here or there. And she's gone on to she's probably done, I don't know, my God, how many TV shows. She books, like, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 or 9 TV shows a year.
Wow. And
She's been on Big Little Lies. She's been on Little Fires Everywhere. She's been on like, I don't know, big names, name sitcoms and dramas, and now she's getting into voiceover work, and she's done music videos. She just did this Demi Lovato music video. She's been, like, her career, like, it's been from, like, just
mhm.
like, I want to be an actor, and I love acting.
Yeah,
Like, no, she's making her living,
that's
so
wonderful.
that's what we're about, because we have a lot of new people that are coming, a lot of new people that are interested, and that's kind of who we want to nurture. It's easier for me to teach somebody who's never taken an acting class before. Much
Yeah.
easier, much easier. They're like a blank slate, and they just take everything in, use it, and go. I have just a gentleman the other day who he did one of our intensives, and then he did the whole intro section course with me, and then started booking. It's like, I'm like, yes, that's what we want. That's exactly what we want.
Yeah.
So yeah, we help all sorts of people from every level, from brand new to people that have been in the industry that are well known, and still, run into things and then take it up another notch.
So
Yeah.
is there, and that's wonderful. And I
Myself
certainly,
included, it's like, because I use my own stuff, right?
sure, I would hope
It's
so.
like, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you have a curriculum? Is there kind of a set thing of, you start out here and then you continue progressing onwards?
Yes, we do have a curriculum, and we've actually had to rethink our whole curriculum because of this COVID situation.
Mhm.
Because now we're doing classes over Zoom.
Mhm.
And it's basically the same curriculum, but we're delivering it in a little, it used to be pretty linear, and now it's a little more flexible um, because of the nature of how we're doing this. But we're getting amazing results, and it's actually preparing people for those Zoom auditions, for those Zoom callbacks. I'm like, this is what you guys are going to be doing. This
Mhm.
is exactly what you're going to be doing, because everything that we do is applicable to preparing for an audition, getting ready for a part. It's all applicable to how you prepare, and then they perform, and they do different things, and we throw in some improv stuff in there too, just um, with characters and stuff, but it's preparing them perfectly for this climate. Yeah.
I would hope so, because I have conversations with fantastic actors that have gone through incredible theatrical programs at big named schools, and they come out and they have no idea how to audition. They don't know anything about the reality of the business. It's all about theater, theater, theater. Stanislavski, all of the mechanisms. And I mean, Eve Gordon got in her first movie, in her first role with Robin Williams, and they told her to, get on the mark, and she asked what a mark was.
Oh
So,
no.
fortunately, they thought that she was just kidding,
Yeah.
and everybody laughed. But I mean, like, really, my personal opinion, how dare does somebody take your money for years and teach you without preparing you for the applicability of that skill set?
Yeah, I know. I had
So
a young man in one of my classes that was in the same, graduated prestigious school, and came and was like, I don't know anything about the business.
yeah,
And I don't know. And I did lots of theater, but I haven't done anything that's television related or movie related. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And even in theater, I mean, still in theater there are marks. Yeah.
Yes, there are.
So whatever. So I'm glad that your school actually prepares people
Yeah.
the reality of what the business is like, because I kept on asking the local schools here in Chicago. I'm in Chicago, so I kept on asking the local schools. I said, listen, I read Michael Caine's book on how to be an actor and what it's like to be on set, and all of the different things to look out for, and where is the camera? Are you turning this way? Are you turning this way? Down to the eyebrow color. So there are very specific things that one will know eventually if they're working enough. But when you're starting out, you just don't know.
Hmm.
So why aren't there classes on how to be on set?
Hmm.
What do you need to know in order to be successful? The first time I got on set and I heard speeding, I turned around because I was worried something would hit me. Uh, like, what's speeding, right?
Yeah.
Because in the movies we hear lights, camera, action. Well,
Right.
guess what? That's not really how it's done.
Yeah.
Uh, so like, somebody has to do a good job, because when you step on set, you have to know how to act. You have to remember, try to remember your moment before, when everything is switching around you. You're trying to remember your lines. You think you're going to remember the type of relationship you're going to have with the other person. I'm barely trying to understand where I'm supposed to be on
Yeah.
a overnight shoot. Like, these things don't just click in.
Yeah.
So somebody needs to do a much better job prepping.
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I hope you have kind of those types of classes, or that are going through and making sure that people are ready when they come up.
Ready for that. Yeah, not totally all the technical stuff, but really in the well, I guess it does encompass some of that because we have an audition class, so that does, part of that for sure. Yeah, I mean, and our classes are all at the acting center. You work all class. You work. You're not sitting. You're not looking. And I mean, at the end when we do performances, some performances you may be watching for maybe half an hour or something, but you are working the entire class. We've had to cut our class from 3 hours to 2 hours too, because Zoom is just too much for 3 hours.
Yeah, yeah. And how are you finding it? Because again, with acting, it's we're not stationary most of the time, unless it's a close up. We're not stationary. We're moving. People move. This is life,
Yeah.
and you're not going. You'll still remember your fourth wall, and you're not going to be turning your back to the camera all the time. But how do you utilize Zoom and make sure that people can actually work together while being able to move and be connected? Because right now I'm looking at the camera, so audience can see my eyes. You're in my periphery. If I look at you, my rims of the glasses, people lose my eyes.
Yeah.
When we're doing auditions and we're doing Zoom auditions, you're taught always not to look in the camera unless you're doing a commercial. So you're always, cross camera, how many people are we looking at? But the person is here. I need to see the energy so I can be affected by it. So Zoom adds a whole layer of complexity to the whole experience.
Exactly. Yeah. So because like when if you're doing a scene with somebody and they're on another square, you have to look at the camera like it's them. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Not easy.
The little things.
And that's why people take your intensives, so they understand what it's like and how to maximize it. And we're absolutely going to be putting a link to the there's so many schools with almost identical names. So we're going to be putting the acting center. We're going to be putting a link down below. Please go and check it out as you're watching this video. So improv. So I know we've alluded to improv a number of times. Improv, I loved in one of your chats when you said that, people kind of got the wrong idea of improv, and now everybody thinks improv is comedy, where that's not what improv is. My first lesson was that to myself when I went to Second City and I started taking improv classes, which is the first thing the instructor said after the introductions. He said, improv is not about being funny.
Right.
So please help people understand why that is.
Yes, improv is, I mean, it's one of our oldest art forms, really. And I think people have associated, because of the club improv, they've associated it with stand-up comedy. And also because of the Groundlings being a real training ground, Second City too, but not as much for stand-up comedy or for sketch comedy. They kind of have equated that word to mean that, which is not true. Improv is just making it up on the spot. So whatever that is, and we were trained in New York by a woman, Tamra Wilcox, who worked with Del Close. And was part of the committee in San Francisco, the group committee in San Francisco that was an offshoot of that. So she was a pedigree, improv person. And we were taught, I mean, we did all sorts of things with improv. My favorite thing that we did was improvised one act plays. And it's, to me, there's nothing that tops that artistically for me. It's like such, and we did, Tennessee Williams style plays and David Mamet style plays and Shakespeare style plays. and our own version of comedy plays, and whatever it was, like film noir dramas, and like slapstick silly whatever, it was like the whole gamut. But we were taught it doesn't, you don't have to be, it's not, you don't work for the joke. And and you'll find this is true in really good comedies, is that comedy comes out of the life situations.
Mhm.
It comes out of life. Life is funny and things happen. And
Yeah.
when you play it with reality, it makes it even funnier. That's what I have talked to people about too. It's like, well, when I'm doing a comedy, what do I do? I'm like, play it for real in that environment. That's who you are. It's not like you have to be like, do. Like, I'm so funny. Play it for real. This is your life. This absurd situation is happening to you. It's the situation, it's the circumstances that are going to make it funny. So that's what it is in improv too. And I don't know if you know the form, the Herald, which was developed by Del Close. It's a long form
Okay.
piece. And it takes a look at one thing from various different viewpoints. And it's a brilliant piece. It's a very artistic piece because you get all sorts of viewpoints on one question. And they can be very funny, they can be poignant, they can be sad, they can be musical, they can be whatever. And that to me really embodies what improv is, bringing your knowledge of life into different circumstances and looking at things and this is something that's being lost in this society right now, is to be able to look at things from different viewpoints, be able to take on another person's viewpoint.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
a very important part of humanity, very important. And it's something that we're losing, and it's very sad, actually. It's okay to think differently. It's okay to have another viewpoint, but we should be tolerant of viewpoints. And I think that piece really encompasses that, and why I love it so much, because it makes people go, oh yeah, I never thought about it that way. Okay, that's all right. Okay, or it makes and that's what art does. It gets people to think, and improv is so good at that.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't get a chance to do long form during my training. I did the A through E at Second City. I took some other classes in addition to that, but we didn't get to do long form. And watching Middleditch and Schwartz, do their long form, I saw just how I really would have enjoyed it.
Yes, it's
Because
fantastic.
it really just gives you a chance to play.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, how much more fun can one person have than to get an idea and then just start playing with it and see where it goes?
Yeah, it's so liberating, and
Yeah.
just, I mean, literally, we'd have people come up saying, "Oh, that play that you did 5 years ago, I still think about it." And you're like, "Wow, that's amazing."
Yeah.
It's like,
Nothing is ever the same. There's like,
no.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of improv. I think improv is one of the reasons why I kind of started getting back into acting, of
Mm.
watching Whose Line, and then really understanding that I'm in Chicago. I have a lot of improv around me, and for me not to do it would be silly. And I got into it, and that brought me back into acting. In my uh, coming up to middle age. Yeah. So, last thing I wanted to ask you is being a teacher. Spending a lot of time working with people. You mentioned that you use your own techniques. So, how much acting do you get a chance to still do?
Um, well, yeah, whenever I get an audition, I do it. I mean, I do voiceover work. Actually, I'm going to be shooting something in a couple weeks. New TV show that's going to be out.
Yay.
Yeah, I know. First for me since COVID.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I definitely most of my attention is really put into the school. But yeah, no, I work here and there, and yeah, actually Taylor and I just did a voiceover job last week
Nice.
for a company in the UK. And yeah, so I keep working. Yeah, absolutely. It's like, it's one of these things too, because acting is, I think actors are like this in general. It's like we just love to do it,
Mhm.
and we can't stop doing it,
Yep.
It's
Yep.
part of who we are. It's how we express ourselves, and it's how we communicate with the world. And it's like we do it for free. It doesn't matter. It's
Mhm.
like, if you're going to pay us, great, even
Yep.
better. But
Mhm.
I think it's one of those things. It's like, I don't know. It's like I can't imagine not doing it. I'm also working on a project of putting a bunch of filming. Now filming, it was going to be a live show, but now it's going to be filmed monologues of a friend of mine that wrote a bunch of monologues, and my daughter and two other of my people at the acting center and myself, are four girls, are going to put these monologues together on film, and it'll be a project um, for video. So also songs included and everything too. So it's like I just keep doing it. Can't stop myself.
You have to. And then again, and being a teacher, one of the first things that you have to overcome is people immediately testing to see if you are just somebody who is regurgitating information or you're a person who knows what they're doing and is doing it, right?
Yes,
And
exactly.
I always enjoyed kind of that initial jousting with people, trying to see if I am an instructor or I am a professional who instructs.
Yes.
And that to me was always funny. It's like, oh, how would you do this? Okay, here we go. Let's do it. Let's play. So I enjoy that. One more question. I know I said last question, but one more question is, knowing that you and Jim both come from an improv background. You're obviously married. How much of the, because Jim is a man of many voices and many accents, and how much do you get a chance to kind of play with Jim in that regard? Do you do a ton of accents yourself? Do you guys just kind of go off on a tangent in the middle of a conversation, or you're more you, and then Jim kind of goes off?
No, our household is a very silly household. Our daughter as well. She's an actress, and she's grown up around this, and she's a brilliant improviser, and she will do things just to make Jim laugh. This is her joy in life, is to get dad to laugh. So, and we're always playing with each other during the day, as we're working, taking on different accents, different characters. It's just part of our life,
Good.
so to speak. We're pretty playful around here, I guess.
Yes, my kids have been taking after me, and I've had enormous joy in teaching them various accents. So they play too. Yeah, so it's I think it makes my life more fun.
It absolutely does. Absolutely.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom. And everybody, please go check out the school. We're going to have it right there.
Great. Thank you,
Yeah.
Alan. So nice to talk to you.
Likewise. And again, thanks to everybody for tuning in into another episode of The Love of Acting. We know you're as silly and interested in this as we are, and we appreciate you for it. Thank you.